Hey, good afternoon, LiveGood family, and it's such a pleasure to be on here on today. Great job, team, on all of the growth, the excitement. 700,000 members is absolutely unbelievable. I did a post today just kind of sharing some value in that really quickly. I was just looking at a comment, and this guy was talking about the matrix and I said, "So, do you even know what you're talking about?" I said, "Just stop. You sound ridiculous." Like, I literally just posted that before you caught my name. Like, people are just trying to find ways to come up with stuff, and that kind of leads into what I'm saying. If you're going to lead a movement, here's the message. If you're going to lead a movement, it really depends on, the most important thing is your character. And I want everyone to really consider and look at our leadership team. I want you to consider the character of our CEO. I want you to consider the character of our director of product development, of our director of network marketing, of our director of product education. Look at the character of the people that are leading the movement. That is the most important thing. The people on the outside window shopping who don't even understand the language cannot be the people that you listen to. Okay, look, I'm just going to start with that. So there's that. So let me ask you this. As we move forward, we've got 700,000 people. I want to start thinking as we are crossing over a milestone, right? This is much different. The company today is much different than it was in January, right? Much different than it was in February with 100,000 people or 50,000 people, right? We're at a different phase. And if you're thinking like a business owner, you have to figure out how you're going to show up and evolve as the company is growing and evolving. You heard Ben talk about, there's Dr. Ryan, that he's very, very busy. There's more products, right? We're on the track to 200 different SKUs. The company is moving and growing, whether you realize what's happening at corporate or not. And so what also should be happening is that you are growing and evolving, whether your market knows it or not. And so here's the question. What's the piece of your character that needs to shift in order for you to grow with LiveGood? What is the piece of your character that needs to shift? So you have to think about, well, what characteristics does one need to have to even be in business, to be a successful business owner to begin with? I'm going to give you a few. Are you involved? Right? Being involved is a characteristic of being successful. Could you imagine if Ben was just, he was the CEO, but he's busy, but he was just so busy that he was never involved to be on these calls? Right? He just could never do it. And Nada would get on every week and say, "Oh, Ben can't be on because of this," or "Ben can't be on because of that." He's involved. He's involved on the back end, but he's involved in the front. So if he can do that, and have multiple businesses, a family, children, all the things that all of us probably have too, you need to be involved, because that's a characteristic of what we're doing, of leading a movement. Another characteristic would be, do you enjoy what you're doing? Do you have an enjoyment of this? If you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to have much more success. You cannot have this humdrum, I hope maybe somebody will drop into my matrix from spillover 25 cents and I'm just going to, become a rock star. Do you enjoy it? And if you enjoy it, then that means you are now positioning yourself you're in the way of success, right? You kind of get in the way of success, and it has to roll over you, right? Success can't, you can't get out of its way, all right? Which means you have to have it. Another example would be being a shameless self-promoter. I've talked about this before. Back in my real estate days, I read a book. It was called The Shameless Self-Promoter, right? And that was the name of the book. I'm not promoting the book, but I know that the book is on Amazon, right? It's called Shameless Self-Promoter. And one of the things about entrepreneurship and some of the characteristics that people have when they get started in network marketing is that you don't want to speak about what you have. You don't want to be out with what you're promoting and marketing and have of value to people, because you're so afraid of what the response or what the rejection could possibly be, or the no that you might get. But when you're talking about leading a movement, you have to be in the characteristic of being a shameless self-promoter, not self-promoting from the standpoint of it's me, but shameless self-promoter from the standpoint of we. Look what we are doing. Look what the company is doing. Look at the new products that we have. Oh, I took this product and yes, I had this effect. I had this result. I had this transformation. But ultimately, look, it's a collective. We're talking about a movement. A movement is bigger than you. So when you can understand that the power is in the pivot, and you know that you're not getting the results that you want, or ultimately that you're on track to get them, you've got to be conscious enough to say, okay, I've got to pivot and I've got to look at some of these characteristics and I've got to work on these things so that I can be in the flow. So when the next 700,000 come in, you've got 2, 3, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 that are part of your organization through that next wave that takes place. So one last thing as I close out is when we talk about character, I don't know if you guys got it. I think it was last week, Ben talked about some shifts that need to be made in the commissions, right? Because some things took place in the system, read some things, and they had to make some adjustments. So I got an email for 2 days ago, right? I got an email and it says, oh, Tracey, it was from corporate. Oh, Tracey, we had to run some numbers. Some of you guys may have gotten it too. I don't know who gets them. But your commissions are going to be reduced, right? Like this tomorrow. So I'm like, dum, dum, dum. I'm like, oh no, we can't have it reduced, right? So I reached out to Ben and I said, hey, Ben, I got the email about the commissions being reduced. Like, do you have any idea by how much? So he took the time graciously, right? He comes back, he's like $1.90 negative. And I said, look at God, right? Look at God. So out of all of that whole email, I was less $1.90. Okay. Thank you, LiveGood, for not being less $300, right? $500, $1,000. And so, guys, I want you to understand that the character of our leadership, of our founders, of the people at the helm of this, I don't know everybody in network marketing, but I know a lot of owners and I know a lot of people that sit at the top of these companies. And I am just, you might not understand just yet because maybe you haven't had those experiences, but I'm just so grateful to be involved with this group of people more than anything else, that I'm willing to also make sure I'm in the power of my pivot too, because I don't want to miss anything. So work on the things you need to pivot, work on your characteristics, and be grateful for the leadership that we have, and get yourself in gear for this next wave. So back over to you, Ben.